on the Recover From. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be back here. I feel like there's always such a long time in between, but I think it's just I miss having our little chats and debriefs about HA. So every time we're here, I'm super excited.
100%. And today I think that it's the first time that we can talk openly about your pregnancy, because now it's something that you have shared also on your Instagram page.
Yeah, which is wild because I think I'm 26 weeks tomorrow. So I'm nearly all done.
Counting the weeks. Incredible.
Yes.
And how has it been going?
The first half is rough as always. So complete change to appetite, energy, what's energy, food changes, just digestion, all of those things sort of took me for a bit of a spin the first section, but now for the most part feeling so much better. Like appetite's returned and the nausea's gone and fatigue's relative to stage of life versus just extreme fatigue all the time. But probably my favorite part of pregnancy is feeling baby move in my belly. Like with Cosima, I loved every single moment of it. And at this stage, the movements are really evident. Like I'll just be sitting down working and all of a sudden I feel baby moving around, or when I go to bed at night. So I try and just embrace those moments as much as I can, because I don't know if this will be our last baby, if there'll be more babies, but there's a chance that this is the last time I'll feel this. So I really just don't want to miss a beat.
Oh, it's a wonderful time. I remember with baby number one, with Luna, I used to lay down and place almonds and cashews on top of my belly, and then the belly moves and moving the nuts away. That was possibly one of my favorite part of pregnancy. And I actually think that we should record an episode in terms of pregnancy and what to do and what to avoid when pregnant, and how to support ourselves in the best way from a training standpoint and food standpoint when pregnant. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I'd love that. Absolutely. Because there's so much to talk about and there's so much misinformation when it comes to training and nutrition while pregnant. And I guess like anything in the health and fitness world, it's so easy to go down a rabbit hole of not so helpful info.
Absolutely.
And it's harder to single out actually what's really beneficial and something you can trust. So I think that would be a wonderful talk.
We had a couple of women getting pregnant on the Recover From HA, on the Period Comeback protocol. And when we started talking about exercise, I said, you may want to have a catch up with Jane, because she knows everything about training in pregnancy, not only because you're pregnant, but that's also one of your areas of expertise as a personal trainer.
Yeah. And it's really neglected in the health, and because everyone sort of gets scared to go near the pregnant lady because they're worried of something going wrong, which, to a degree is helpful because it is different guidelines. But that being said, once you know the to-dos, it's a very simple process, not that different to training not pregnant really. And a key thing with that is the guidelines for exercise by the American Gynecology and Obstetrics group or community
association.
or board association. Thank you. That's the other thing I'm experiencing at the moment. The words I want do not appear. I'm going to blush now. That the guidelines for them, in 2010 was pretty much don't do anything, you'll cook the baby, you could harm to mum, not good at all. And now it's just like, given you don't have XYZ factors, which are you'd know about, exercise is one of the best things you can do for your own health and for baby.
And it's the same when it comes to nutritional guidelines. I have so many women that comes to me and they want that ongoing support during the 3 trimesters. And there is something that I always have to remind them: you're not sick, you're pregnant. It's just growing a bit, you're not sick.
Yes, but even I'm just going like, because you said that, because I was with family on the weekend, and I'm very treat me like you would any other day of the week, because I'm fine. I'm not actually having a pregnancy where I'm sick, because some women do, right? I'm not. I feel great.
Yeah.
And I went to like bend over and grab something, and someone, and like bless her, great intentions. She's like, oh my gosh, no, don't do that, don't bend over, I'll get it for you. I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm fine. I'm not sick. She goes, oh no, but I can't handle pregnant women, like, moving around too much. I'm like, All right, we need to have a chat.
Yeah, and especially when you already have a baby and you have to bend down and squat all the time. Youth bodies are made for that. Mom's bodies are made for that. And obviously there are some guidelines to follow in terms of
there is, absolutely.
And down, not to do too much cardio and all of it. But I think that we should save this conversation for another.
I know, I'm zipping it.
And today we're going to focus on the 5 things that our most successful clients, if we want to call them that way, actually do to get the period back within a 19 days time frame. And why don't we get started without any further ado, Jade? And do you want to go with the first step, the first fundamental things that we normally encourage women to take action on?
The most critical one is often the trickiest to bring out, because women with sort of like A-type personalities, or perhaps they feel like they're wearing the crazy hat and they're a little bit scared to let anybody into what they're actually thinking or feeling. But it really is giving yourself space to be vulnerable, and really letting your coaches or nutritionist or healthcare practitioner for whatever sort, and actually letting them know where you're at, how you're thinking, how you're feeling. Because the thing is, if we actually know in depth what's going on in your mind, we can absolutely accelerate your progress. Because if a lot of the time women, I guess, are scared about judgment, right? Because that kind of is around every corner within that HA recovery space, is they sort of say things that they think we want to hear, right? We might ask a question and they go, oh, wait, I know, I've heard this in a podcast, I've read this in the book, I know the logical answer. But in all honesty, we don't want the logical answer. We want the irrational one. We want the emotional one. We want the one that doesn't make any sense. Because if you can share that with us, we can actually help you break it down, make it logical, or even just throw it in the trash and bring in something new. But we really need that to come from you.
Yes, not people pleasing, especially when part of the HA community and when working with us. And vulnerability is also important in different areas. Sometimes I do ask women, please send me a picture of how your cervical mucus looks like. Send me a picture of the color of your blood. Send me those important information, because maybe you have never shared them with anyone, and it may feel strange for you because it's obviously very private information, but that's the quickest way for me to give a feedback to a woman, especially when it comes to detecting if a cervical mucus is fertile or not. So there is that vulnerability when it comes to mindset, and letting us know what is really going on behind closed curtain, and also that vulnerability when it comes to sharing information, and to let us know, like, for example, I had a call with a client this morning, and she told me I have absolutely no fears in terms of eating food and allow myself to have whatever I need to. And then we went on during the conversation, and so many red flags popped up. And I think that sometimes it would be much easier for us as a team to work with women that give us the real informations, because we don't have to extrapolate them one session after another. Would you agree with that, Jade?
Yeah, absolutely. And both of us give out quite detailed sort of getting to know you client intake forms beforehand. And a big part of that is to try and sort of break into those little things first, so that when we actually have a conversation with you, we've got something to go from. And you would have experienced this too, Claudia. It's like the more we can actually get into a really calm, confident, safe conversation is when the red flags pop up. Because I guess on the other side of vulnerability, some women actually don't know the red flags are there. So they come to us and they answer honestly, and then we need to have a bigger conversation. And I'm not saying it's like a scary, intimidating, it's nothing like that. It's actually just banter back and forth, super calm, super casual. But it's in those chats where those flags pop up and we start to go, oh, did you know that you said that? And women will go, oh gosh, I didn't even realize. And that's where the magic is. And all of the progress happens in those moments.
Yeah. And I love when sometimes I don't let the clients off the hook. So for example, they give me the correct answer, and my follow-up question is, why would you say that? Why would you think that way? And then there is another why that follows the second questions, because I really want to get very intimate. with the people that are part of our group, because I want them not only to get the period back, to get pregnant and all of that, those beautiful things, but also to rekindle the relationship with themselves and to live their best life, because we just have one, so might as well take charge of it, being in charge of it. Now, moving on, step number 2, what would you say that it's really important for women to do if they really want to get the period back in 90 days or less?
It's the willingness for change. And it's probably the hardest one.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we can sit there and read all of the information that we like, listen to all the podcasts, watch every single live, speak to all different kinds of clinicians. But unless we're actually willing to put that first foot forward and then the next foot and then the next foot, we're kind of just running on a treadmill. You know, we're moving really, really fast, but we're actually getting nowhere. And that's where I guess we really appreciate the community that we're building and have built so far within the HA community, because women are getting a multi-tiered level of support where they're not just getting the mindset, the nutrition, but they're also getting a community level of support of women who are actually going through it with them, versus always just having the sort of like the mentorship element, because obviously we've been through it. We know exactly how these women feel. And that's a superpower on our behalf to be able to actually be in the moment with these women and really hear them and feel what they're going through. But that community support and knowing that you can practice change and everything's going to be okay. But what are your thoughts on the willingness to change? Because there's so many different dynamics in regards to mindset, nutrition, training, even just overall finding yourself, like thinking that your identity is the Fitspo, and then realizing, hang on, maybe that was something just conditioned. Like I thought that was what I wanted because it seemed like a good choice.
And that's something that needs to be broken down from the very beginning. And I would like to underline that women don't come to us for lack of knowledge. They don't come to us because they have no idea why they have HA. They normally come to us because they've tried to fix themselves on their own or to restore the period on their own. And after encountering many roadblocks, they've decided to actually do things differently. Because the reality is, Jay, that if you keep doing the same thing, expecting different results, well, you already know what's going to happen. And that's also why we don't hold anything back on our lives, podcasts, YouTube videos. We just share all the informations that are available, because honestly, if you decide that you want to recover on your own and you decide to do so by just following our lives and videos, fantastic. Do so. And that's why we don't hold anything back. We want women to get better. But normally what I've noticed is that women come to us when they have tried it, they have the knowledge, and most, I don't want to generalize things, but I really truly believe that women that do experience HA as a very high, they're very intelligent, they're very high Q, oh my God, I cannot say QI. Oh, the words are missing from my mouth as well today. And I just would like to reiterate the fact that whenever they come to us, it's because they already know what the roadblock is and they need that help to move past it or to learn a different way. And yeah, that willingness to change it's fundamental, which is why one of the main questions that I ask before understanding if a woman is the right fit for the community and the period comeback protocol is, how committed are you to change on a scale of 1 to 10? If they say anything below 7, I normally tell them, let's have a conversation. And if I feel that they're not the right fit, then I give them extra resources and I invite them to come back when they're ready, when their commitment level is above 7. And if it's somewhere between 7 and 9, I always ask them, what can make it a 10? And normally, most of the time I get women that say, my commitment level is 8 to 9. And I say, what's missing is the fear of changing. So if I know that there is a willingness to change and the fear is the only thing coming in the way, then we are the perfect fit. Because I know that you and I, Jade, could be a great match for those people that are in a fearful state, but wants to get better. They are our ideal client.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's probably important to highlight too that women can make missteps with their capacity to make change. So the idea isn't actually suitable to the level that they're at right now.
Yeah.
And in return, it creates like this whiplash effect where they try and make change and then it's too much. So then they go revert back to their old ways and then they lose confidence in the process because part of them is already critical about, I just can't do it. And then all of a sudden that scenario presents itself and it goes, see, I told you you couldn't do it. And it sends them in a position and solidifies the fear of like, I can't, or it won't work, or it's just not me. And it's never actually the case. There's actually strategies involved and things that we do with our ladies all the time to make sure that the step that their foot that they're putting forward is suitable to their individual circumstance so that they don't have that back and forth whiplash. Instead, they're moving forward. They're experiencing what it feels like to actually move forward in recovery. Perhaps they hold steady sometimes, perhaps they keep pushing forwards, but it's eliminating that like, I can't do it, because we're building them up in a way that there's always going to be that forward momentum. And if there's a feeling of falling backwards, we're here to catch you, right? And to make sure that you don't actually fall, which is where the support is invaluable.
And the willingness to change, I just would like to clarify, doesn't mean eating 2,500 calories and not training.
No, I'm just giggling because it's like the most common thing, like question in DMs, on comments, emails, is like, but the book said 2,500, like as long as I do that, that's it. And, you know, it's mental, it's physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's so many beautiful cogs intertwined.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, 2,500 just doesn't.
Is the solution. I'm gonna fix my life if I just hit that number.
Perfect.
Perfect. And the reality is that not only that number is not enough for some women, or sometimes it could be too much for others, depending on where they are in their journey. But there may be other things playing up in the background. And unless they work with a professional, they will never find what else is going on.
Of all the women you've worked with, how often is there other things?
I would say, I don't want to say 100%, but let me say 99%.
Yeah. And like only highlighting that because I think when we want the answer to be really simple, it's kind of like, all right, 2,500, I know how to calorie count, I know how to diet, I know how to do this. So if I just do that one thing, that's it, I've got my golden ticket. But it's never just the number, ever. I
don't think that we had not even one client that recovered by eating 2,500 calories and not training. I don't have anyone that comes to mind, because all of the clients that had to decrease their exercise output and increase their energy intake, they still work on other things in the meantime. Yeah.
Self-worth being top of the list.
New identity, decreasing the stress response, regulating the nervous system,
learning
working
how to sleep
in different ways. Yeah. So many other things. Anyway,
number three, you go. Number three.
Supporting others, getting out of the me bubble, being willing to help others, to share the stories, to be there for others. Because when you understand that you're part of a community, that you're part of a group, then it's less difficult, it's less lonesome. And I actually love a conversation that I had with one of the beautiful ladies in the HA community a couple of weeks ago. She said, I was in here in my US bubble thinking that I was the only one not having a period because I was putting my body under too much stress. And then I meet all the ladies in the HA community that are living in Belgium, France, UK, Australia, different parts of US and Canada. And I realized that I'm not the only one. And it was such a beautiful feeling, specifically for these clients, because she felt a sense of community that extended beyond the village where she was living, beyond the country where she was living, but it was like a worldwide type of community. And we also have women that became great friends in the HA community and met up in person and became real good friends in person as well, which is something that's definitely worth noticing. What do you think about step number 3 and what this about this tip, supporting others?
Well, one, it fuels our soul knowing that we're helping others and being in service of others. So whether it be a paid service or a voluntary service, or expressing what we're going through, helping others get through what they're going through, it really does fuel us in a way that material things can't. And there's such strength in sharing perhaps what you've learned, what your experience is, because it also solidifies that experience in your mind. So it actually means more when you're replaying it or when you're typing it out again. And what I mean by that is, let's say you took on a fear food, right? That's a pretty easy go-to. And then perhaps you felt a bit of anxiety leading up to it, but then you brought in a tool that helped you remain calm, and then you had a little bit of a taste, and you got yourself through that experience. And then by the end of it, you gave yourself a pat on the back and went, oh, like it was okay. There was some parts that were a bit rocky, but for the most part, I'm really glad I did that. And then they jump online and they write a post about it, or they share a comment, or they do a little video. And it's really healing to contribute that, because you're actually going through that memory and confirming with your mind that that was a safe experience. Everything was okay, right? So if you choose to repeat it again, it's most likely the same outcome will occur. So by sharing that information, you're supporting other women who might be afraid of doing the same thing. And they go, oh, well, Claudia did that today. I talk to Claudia all the time. We're almost the same person in a different country, because we get that feedback all the time. Like so-and-so's just like me, or so-and-so's like, oh my God, are we twins? And so when you're building these relationships, knowing that you're similar in lots of ways, and then seeing other people take on these steps and then excel, you sharing helps solidify the experience. Your experience helps someone else take a step forward, and then you'll start building together and growing together. And it's really special, especially like one thing that always hit me with being online is there was times in my HA recovery, and even through the podcast, Claudia, you're a perfect experience of this. I've never met you in person, and yet you are one of my best friends. Yeah. I've never hugged you. I've never given you a kiss on the cheek, or, given you a jokey little elbow, but I've never done any of it. But online, supporting each other, open communication, it's a beautiful thing.
And I can't stop smiling right now because it resonates so very true to my heart. You're definitely one of my closest friends, and it really bothers me that I don't know your smell.
I smell like baby mama at the moment.
Beautiful. I actually am gonna plan a trip so I can meet your second baby, because I haven't even met Cosima yet. But it's so very true. Like sometimes we look for people around us to get us to understand what we're going through. But right now, because we have internet, we are always online. We have also that freedom of getting in touch with someone that is living in a completely different country and getting support from them, which is priceless, and definitely something that I didn't have, now way more than 10 years ago when I went through my HA recovery process. Step number 4, I think that for me is definitely learning how to track symptoms, because I don't know about you, Jade, but I have so many clients that come to me and say, oh, I've had that for many, many months, but I don't know how much, I don't know how severe. And I'm talking about, I don't know, gastric symptoms, constipation, discharges, migraines, headaches, fatigue. And unless they start tracking their symptoms and they connect the dots, it's really hard to get to the root cause, to the place where the body can start healing. Because symptoms, the way that I look at them, it's the way that our body communicates with us. So if I get a headache, if there is something going on, it's my body talking to me. It's not my body being the enemy. If my cycle is shorter, if it's longer, if it's painful, if it's not there, it's still my body talking to me. Sometimes it screams. Pain, lack of period, is the body screaming, and it's up to us to identify what the body is actually saying. And it takes sometimes some knowledge and willingness to listen to the body and energy to do that, But I think that that's something really important, and that's normally something that I get women started from the get-go. So if you become your own private investigator, you don't have to rely on different professionals to let you know what's going on, because you will be able to detect what's going on. Same thing with the blood test results. I want women to really understand what they say. I want women to learn how to decipher them, because I don't want women to give power to a professional to really understand what's going on.
No,
how do you feel about tracking these symptoms?
Yeah, I love it. And especially because you brought in other things other than just like cervical mucus. You brought in digestion, headaches, fatigue, body aches and pains. I think when we're in like the crux of HA or even eating disorder recovery, because our self-worth isn't at an optimal level, we dismiss so many symptoms and go, well, it's just the way it is. You know,
Yeah.
I can't change. I'm the person who gets headaches. I'm the person who has slow digestion. I'm the person who goes to the bathroom to use their bowels once a week. Right. And I say that as someone who did that. Right. It was like, oh, it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. And it's like, you know what? Love yourself enough to go, no, that's not right. And it's okay that I don't know why it's not right, but it's my responsibility to find the people who can help me realize why it's not right so that I can then fix it. But it's, for me anyway, I feel like it's very much a self-worth piece to go, I can be better than this and I deserve to be better. Like how many women and even men feel 1,000 times better when the digestion is working optimally. Take periods out of it. Just having like a really good digestive system, having a body that's not aching 20 hours of the day. Like it frees up so much brain space to love people, to be a top performer at work. It helps our lives in so many ways. So I couldn't agree with you more in a HA space, in a forever after space, to actually care about yourself enough to acknowledge what your body's experiencing. And as you so beautifully said, what is it trying to tell you? Knowing that sometimes silence speaks volumes. If you're sitting here listening going, my body doesn't tell me anything, it tells me nothing. Often it's because you're so caught up in an exercise routine, in hunger, in overdrive, in burnout, that you don't have a capacity to listen to the message because you're so caught up in everything else. So that's the message. If you can't hear anything, well, the silence is screaming, but it's knowing that is again the magic.
Not to mention all the women that come to us with hair loss, acne, insomnia, and they've accepted that as their normal routine.
It's just me.
It's just me. I've always been that way. I cannot remember the last time that I slept through the night. I can't remember the last time that I had great skin. So it's
and also there's that identity though, like I am not a good sleeper.
I'm not a good sleeper.
I don't have thick hair, like that. I am. Every time you say that, you're confirming this way of living. You're accepting it. Instead, the language is actually, you know, perhaps I don't experience good sleep, because that's true. You're not experiencing good sleep, but you as a person is not a non-sleeper, right? Yeah. That's the attachment you're giving it. And again, every time you use those words, your brain's going, your wish is my command. Let's do it again tomorrow night. Like, and that's a topic we both get really passionate about in our group calls and one-on-ones, is being selective with the language that we're using, actually really paying attention to it. And sometimes that can be the first little red flag to us knowing what our body's saying, is being like, okay, I can't pick up on the symptoms, but what do I say about my body? Absolutely. Oh, I've got the worst hair. It just falls out all the time. Oh, my skin's so dry and scaly. I might as well be a lizard. My digestion sucks. I can't eat anything, right? Like, really?
Yeah, and also something else, my pain, my disorder behaviors.
Owning it.
My infertility. When you own something, then your brain, once again, is listening. Okay, if that's yours, it's part of your identity.
I better make sure it stays yours.
Yeah, because
that's
it's definitely yours. Now, step number 5.
Sorry, I have to giggle because we're both like, and we and it's a bit funny because we've lived it, we've done it, and it's something that happens all throughout life. Like, we've corrected these things, then you new identities come in and we go, oh, wow, hang on. We've had it in DMs on Instagram where we'll go, oh, did you hear what I just said? I said, I am. And then we hop to it.
Absolutely love those type of conversations that sometimes we have.
We
and we tell each other, notice.
Jade and Claudia gone wild.
Yeah, absolutely. And then step number 5, which is the last step for today, because I'm pretty sure that we're going to do episode 2 because we have more things to share. It's gratitude. And the reasons because I love gratitude so much is because when you are in a state of gratitude, your body cannot produce stress hormones. The more the cortisol, the less the sex hormones. So therefore, the less the stress, the more sex hormones are going to be produced, the more oxytocin is going to be released, and the less you're going to live in a state of fight and flight. That's reasons number 1, because why I love being in gratitude, but also because life becomes better in the split of a second. I can be sitting here telling you I am sleepy, because today I am very sleepy. For my second baby is not a great sleeper, and I'm very sleepy today, and I'm feeling tired, and I can go on and complain about this all day. But at the same time, I get to spend this time with Jade, that she's one of my bestest friends, having a giggle while also reaching a much wider audience that need to hear these type of things. That simply by saying that, my day has gone from average to incredible. Has become the best day that I could ever have. Has become the day that I wanted to live 10 years ago while I was stuck in HA recovery. What do you have to say about gratitude, Jade?
I can't say statements like that when I'm pregnant and highly emotional. It's like I dreamed of this when I was in HA recovery, and I'm like, oh God, that hit me like a ton of bricks. Because it's true. It's like for the ladies that are woo-woo-y, you're gonna froth this conversation. But for the ladies who aren't woo-woo, just give it a little bit of space, because it hits you more once you've lived it. And Claudia hit the nail on the head by going, we live the lives we cried about years ago when we thought it would never end. Like, when is this torture going to be over? When is the mental fatigue, the confusion, the body, like, when is it all going to just be done and I can just live this way? And it ends up there with this process, which is beautiful. But going back to gratitude, because you hit me in the heart with that statement, Claudia. But as you said, the gratitude piece, it does have the power to change your perception in seconds. And it's a life skill. Like, I even think about, you brought up children, Claudia, and there's been nights where Kasima just did not sleep. Right? The newborn who didn't sleep. And I know you went through the same with your babies too. And I had the option to sit there and go, this is so hard. I haven't slept. I'm so tired. I'm deprived. and I could really wrap myself up in these awful emotions and really make everything feel crappy. Or I could sit there and cuddle my baby and go, oh my gosh, aren't I lucky to just be holding this tiny little human in my arms and have this time to cuddle her, because at some point she's going to be 16 and not want to cuddle me like this anymore. All right. So suddenly I went from this is so hard to, aren't I lucky to just be here right now? Aren't I just so glad? And then when I was in the HA recovery space, something that really fueled that recovery fire was, how lucky am I to have a condition that I can heal myself? I don't need to go on an aggressive medication. I don't need to go through some grueling physical pain. I have something that mentally is really difficult. Yes. Physically is going to, watching it change is more challenging than I ever expected. Yes. But I've actually got this gift of, when I heal this, my mind's going to be better. My body's going to be better. The wisdom I will have gained is like no other. And that thought changed everything for me, because I went from being like, poor me, why is it these other women can train all they want and be lean and they get a period and they have babies and I'm being punished? Like, why am I being punished? And that's really how I thought about it. So it was so unfair. Why me? And it doesn't help. That attitude doesn't help. Instead, going, you know what, this is happening for me. And I'm grateful for all the lessons I'm about to learn, even if I don't know what they are yet.
I remember telling my sister I wasted 7 years of my life because I was addressing my eating disorder at that time. And back then I could just only focus on the lack, on the time that I wasted. And right now, in hindsight, I can say, no, it was simply lesson learned, lessons that I can share with other women nowadays that can create this huge domino effect and this great impact, which is what we are creating with this live, with the HA community, and so on and so forth. And there is one message that we keep reminding the people, the women that are in the HA community: you can choose. Doesn't matter where you are, you can choose every day. If you're in prison, you can choose to feel free. If you are dealing with hypothalamic amenorrhea, you can choose which kind of emotions you want to feel. That's your freedom and your choice. And even though it's not that straightforward and it takes a little bit of brain rewiring, it can absolutely be achieved in a very short amount of time. Yeah, absolutely yours. If for no one to take, is the only thing that it's really and truly yours until the last breath that we have. If that's okay with you, Jade, I would like to close this video on this beautiful note and just remind everyone that you can choose the feelings that you want to feel and the thoughts that you're gonna think and the words that you're gonna speak today. Be kind to others, be kind to yourself, because whenever you're kind to yourself, it's much easier to be kind with the rest of the world. Jade, amazing having you back. Everyone, hold your breath for episode number 2. That could be possibly on the other things that women that are doing in order to get the period back in 90 days, or maybe it's going to be more pregnancy related. So we will see. We will see. Exactly. So Jade, it has been a pleasure, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.